And every time that list comes out, I call my wife and I said, I haven't screwed it up yet. We're still number one. But you never know. We've got these companies like Apple and Google catching us quickly. And I said, I particularly like it when because Google gives their product away for free. That's a great business model, you know. If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance a heck of a lot less. And unemployment a lot less, too. So as a consequence, we all are experiencing, and that's a little bit of the theme, obviously, of the conference, uncertainty is the new certainty, is we're experiencing all this change that's around us. And I wanted to highlight, because many of you also will be facing these challenges. Back a couple decades ago, Jim Collins wrote a seminal book called Good to Great. And in that book, he talked about great companies had to straddle and live in two seemingly contradictory places. And so for us, it's balancing what's called the genius of the and, what Jim Collins called the genius of the and. On the one hand, we want to, and we're committed to doubling our business, doubling our growth in the next decade, but we have to do it sustainably. You can't do one and not do the other. Society will not allow that anymore. We have to be great storytellers because, you know, as marketers, storytelling is what we do, right? But we also have to do it with scale. We have to do it with scale, particularly in this world where stories spread and travel so much, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. We have to be timeless, which is why I showed our logo earlier and the value of consistency over time. But we also have to be relevant. Relevance is, now you've got to also watch and balance between relevance and also consumers can see, people can see when you're trying to be too cool or trying to force cool. Consumers are smart. They see through false cool.
I definitely see Coke doing making attempts to be part of the popular culture and trying to be part of conversations. Mm-hmm. And that's what I understand out of Liquid and Linked.
Yes.
Now, where do you think not only Coke and a lot of other brands I see created, and especially Coke, created popular culture? And in between somewhere, we saw them trying to ride popular culture rather than creating popular culture. I mean, look at the example of creation of Santa Claus, mm-hmm. which, you know, somehow very instinctively was part of the culture of the company, where you created many properties, created a lot of things which became part of conversations without even sometimes claiming the rights for them.
Right.
Why do you think somewhere, you know, the shift became from creation of popular culture, seeing yourself as a creator of it, then to become someone who rides the wave, take a star, ride on the popularity of the star, take some event which is already successful, ride on it, rather than creating something which contributes to the popular culture?
That's a great question, Prasoon. I think that a lot of it is a function of the fact that, you know, particularly large companies, tend to be very conservative. And I think it's very difficult for large companies to be bold, to be disruptive, to get out there and change because the people inherently are conservative and they don't like taking risk. And so what we try to encourage at the company is, and we have a philosophy now of 70-20-10. Basically put 70% of your dollars against those things that you know work, 20% innovate off the 70%, and then 10% just innovate and it doesn't matter if it doesn't work. You know, take some risk, take some challenge. And part of that challenge is leading the cultural dialogue, trying to create pop culture. I sat last night with what was a thing called Coke Studio here on a rooftop. And and I said, I felt that this was such a powerful new thing that was coming. I think that Coke was helping to create culture a musical culture in India with this fusion of different sounds. So I think it's about being a leadership brand, about expressing and having the confidence to take risks, not being afraid to fail. I say to everybody, you know, there's very little you're going to do individually to bring down the Coca-Cola company.
The only difference I see is that there's a sense of a little bit of desperation in ownership of the property, which was like a rhythm Coke had earlier. I feel that, you know, if you brand it upfront blatantly, people tend to sort of little step back.
Right.
So how do you think you deal with, you know, creation of being loosely owner of some property? Because that's where I see people become very sensitive towards, creative things, music or art. When it's too blatantly branded, they tend to step back.
Yes.
How do you deal with it?
You have to balance that. I would agree 100%. And that's why I think one of the best examples of that, Prasoon, is how we are thinking about social media, and particularly our presence on Facebook. I would say 7, 8 years ago, the company was very uncomfortable with the fact that certain consumers own the brand, right? And got very nervous when some consumers went out and did something, a little experiment where they dropped in Mentos into Coke, Diet Coke, and they exploded, and it was all over the internet, and Coke tried to, we got to squash that, that's against the brand. Nonsense. You can be too prissy with your brand also, too protective. And so what our philosophy has then evolved to, it's kind of gone the other way. And you know what, said, wait a minute, we've got 35 million Facebook members, we're not running that. Once this thing got to 10 million, 15 million, Facebook came to us and said, you guys want to take it over? And we said, no. We had 2 unemployed actors from Los Angeles who started this Coca-Cola Facebook page, and these people had tremendous passion for the brand, said they can keep running it. And so keeping that distance, having the self-confidence to understand that the people own the brand, and you do not want to make it overly commercial because that will turn people off. It's very, very, very true.